The title is also advertisement for the paper. And the title should hook the reader and want them to read or make them want to read the abstract. And I actually do, or I often, with my students, I'll do a whole session just on titles, abstracts, and keywords and making sure they match. But the essence of the title is that it should be brief and clear. It must say what your paper is about, and it should ideally summarize the main finding of the paper. Very often as an editor, I see very long descriptive titles that tell me what the paper is about, but don't tell me why the paper is interesting, why it represents an advance, or what the main finding was. And those papers, often I will actually ask the authors to, if the paper is of interest, I'll ask the authors to rewrite the title to include the main finding. So a good title tells you the key findings, and it has a strong take-home message. So it should be, when people remember the paper, they already know what the main finding was. And this second title, like I said, has a weak take-home message because it only suggests that there's an effect, but it doesn't tell us that key finding. So when you write a draft abstract at the beginning of the writing process, it can actually help you structure the paper. Often because it's so short and so concise that you need to focus on key messages and the most important information. And that can really help get the structure across in your entire paper. Then, of course, once you've written your paper, you want to rewrite the abstract or revise the abstract to make sure that you really have covered those key points, because things can change during the writing process. Now, I personally find it very hard to be concise. I find it difficult to describe an entire paper in 250 to 300 words. So what I often do is I'll start with a much longer text, and then I'll cut anything that is non-essential, anything that is tangential, until I'm really covering the most essential points and fitting to the word limit. So this is a good way of starting and making sure that you know what your key messages are before you write, and that those are very clear in the abstract. And this is important because the abstract is like the advertisement for your paper. So you're advertising your paper to people and hoping that they will read it. And the abstract is often the only thing that people will read. So if you're unlucky, it's the only thing that an editor or reviewers will read. So it really needs to contain the context, the background to the study, the relevance of the study, and the most important take-home messages, because that is what will motivate readers to keep reading the rest of the paper. It's also, when you submit your paper, the first thing the editor will read, and often the only thing some editors will read. They will make a decision, a first decision, about whether your paper is a good fit to the journal based on the abstract. So you want to make sure that the abstract contains all the key points in an easily digestible form, and that is usually a very brief background or justification for the study, so providing the context. Then a broad description of what you did, not too many methodological details, but an idea of what the study entails. Then the main findings, and a final statement or synthesis about the relevance of the study.